Quran, Surah 83, Mutaffifin, the Defrauding, Part 1. Woe unto the defrauders, those who when they take the measure from mankind demand it in full, but if they measure unto them or wait for them, they cause them loss. Do such men not consider that they will be raised again unto an awful day, the day when all mankind will stand before the Lord of the worlds? Nay, but the record of the vile is in Sijjin. What will convey unto you what Sijjin is? A written record. Woe unto the repudiators on that day, those who deny the day of judgment, which none denieth save each criminal transgressor, who, when you read unto them our revelations, say, mere fables of the men of old. Nay, but that which they have earned is rust upon their hearts. Nay, but surely on that day they will be covered from the mercy of their Lord. Then, lo, they will verily burn in hell, and it will be said unto them, this is that which you used to deny. Nay, but the record of the righteous is an aliyin. What will convey unto thee what aliyin is? A written record, attested by those who are brought near unto their Lord. Lo, the righteous are in delight, on couches, gazing. They will know in their faces the radiance of delight. They are given to drink a pure wine, sealed, whose seal is musk. For this let all those who strive for bliss, and mixed with water of tasneem, and spring whence those brought near to Allah to drink. Lo, the guilty used to laugh at those who believe, and wink to one another when they passed them. And when they returned to their own folk, they returned jesting. And when they saw them, they said, lo, these have gone astray. Yet they were not sent as guardians over them. This day it is those who believe who have the laugh of the disbelievers, on high couches, gazing. Are not the disbelievers paid for what they used to do? And now the Arabic, as recited by Saad El-Ghamdi.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويل للمطففين الذين إذا اكتالوا على الناس يستوفون وإذا كالوهم أو وزنوهم يخسرون ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون ليوم عظيم يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين كلا إن كتاب الفجار لفي سجين وما أدراك ما سجين كتاب مرقوم ويل يومئذ للمكذبين الذين يكذبون بيوم الدين وما يكذب به إلا كل معتد أثيم إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا قال أساطير الأولين كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون ثم إنهم لصالو الجحيم ثم يقال هذا الذي كنتم به تكذبون كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين وما أدراك ما عليون كتاب مرقوم يشهده المقربون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم على الأرائك ينظرون تعرف في وجوههم نضرة النعيم يسقون من رحيق مختوم ختامه مسك وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون ومزاجه من تسنيم عينا يشرب بها المقربون إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون وإذا مروا بهم يتغامزون وإذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم انقلبوا فكهين وإذا رأوهم قالوا إن هؤلاء لضالون وما أرسلوا عليهم حافظين فاليوم الذين آمنوا من الكفار يضحكون على الأرائك ينظرون هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون.
This day it is those who believe that laugh at the disbelievers. This imagery you have here, and so vivid in this surah, it's of believers who, on the day of judgment, are basically getting the last laugh and laughing back at those who used to mock them. Those who were once powerful are now helpless, and vice versa. Words of Jesus come to mind here. The first will be last and the last will be first, though obviously in a slightly different context. I think Jesus would want his followers to pity and pray for those in hell rather than mocking them. But still, you have this same concept. The world is not as it appears to be, in the long run at least. The order of men will not survive the order of God. You Muslims, they are laughing at you now, but in the next life, you will laugh at them. Now, the appeal of this to the believer is pretty obvious, but it's also even more visceral given the historical context, where this actually comes from. Now, this surah, it is quite possible, quite literally straddles the Meccan and the Medinan eras. One popular theory is that this was revealed mostly in Mecca, but then the first 4 lines were revealed in Medina. Now, this journey to Medina, this hijrah, it's year 0 in the Muslim calendar, but it may not have seemed like that in the moment. This was a humiliating retreat for many, and for many, the unbelievers were doing way worse than laughing at them. What would be a great consolation in that context? Well, a vision of paradise, and the idea that, one day, those who laughed at you will be laughed at, and punished in the worst way imaginable. This surah is particularly visual. This idea of believers on couches, drinking the finest drink of heaven, literally above the unbelievers who have rust on their hearts. Now, we'll get to that in a little bit, but I'm guessing for the first-time reader, when looking over this surah, the most common question would have to do with all these untranslated proper nouns that you're seeing. I mean, what are these things? Why are these words not translated? Sijjin, elyin, tasneem. Now, in the most simple, but as you'll later see, utterly inadequate terms, the simplest explanation is this. Sijjin is the record of the good, elyin is the record of the bad, and tasneem is what they are drinking and where they are drinking it from. So why doesn't the English text just say that? Well, some do, but it's very few. And when they do, it's just a whole bunch of words. And I think most translators just made the decision that very long descriptions of these things just mess with the flow too much. And it messes with the grammar and the artistry. And if you're being true to the Arabic text, these are not actually descriptions. These are presented as proper nouns, which make things even more complicated. Well, they're proper nouns, sort of. They are actually, in grammatic form, adjectives. And this is why explanations obviously have to follow. For example, nay, but the record of the vial is in Sijjin. Ah, what will convey unto thee what Sijjin is? See, you're not supposed to know what it is yet. And then it goes on to say, a written record. Woe unto the repudiators on that day. So just saying Sijjin is probably sufficient given the explanation to follow. Rather than turning those two syllables into, as for example Muhammad Assad does, set down in a mode inescapable. Now that's 8 extra syllables in a sermon that doubles as a poem. Not that he's wrong, mind you. I appreciate all methods of translation. It's actually great to have a variety of them, particularly different styles, but I really understand the majority opinion here. It's just easier and arguably far more accurate to just say Sijjin and then footnote it. So what is Sijjin? It's the record of someone's life, kind of like Surah 84, which we just went over here. This is receiving your record in your right hand rather than behind your back. Sijjin is a place, basically a prison. It's a very simple verb, S-J-N, sin, jim, noon. The noun form would be a prison. But this meaning is hardly simple. Because for one thing, Sijjin is not really a noun. It presents as one, and it's meant as one. But in the Arabic, it follows that standard adjective form that almost all adjectives do. Consonant, consonant, long E sound, consonant. In this use, it's basically giving you an extreme version of the verb/noun. In this case, an extreme imprisonment, an inescapable one. But even that hardly explains the full meaning of this term. You may be confused, rightly, and thinking, where is the prison in all of this? I don't see the word prison anywhere. And earlier, you didn't call it a prison. And you're right. I told you that Sijjin is a written record for the evil people. Now, how is a record a prison? This is another reason few try to explain this within the text. Because there are two meanings being crammed together here. The word that basically means a prison in this use, it's conveying not just a prison, but an inescapable one, a supermax, so to speak. So why is it also being portrayed as a written record? Because the Quran tells us that 2 lines later. So you have a record, which is a prison, and may be in a prison, and it's going to be put in a prison. And there's even more layered meaning on top of that. The prison is in a person's heart, and then in the afterlife. And even more on top of that, God isn't creating this prison, people are creating it. That prison is a person's record, not a place God forced them into. They created their own prison, and now they have to live in it. So, and all that, how many hundreds of words did I just use to explain that one word? It's far easier just to say Sijjin. And then we see the mirror opposite of that word with the word aliyin. But before we move on to the good words, I do want to comment a little bit more. Let's go back to Sijjin. I want to comment on one more description of these evil men who were given the Sijjin. This is in line 14. Nay, but that which they have earned is rust upon their hearts. I mentioned the visual nature of this surah, and that's why I wanted to highlight this part, because this is the greatest visual of them all within this surah. And many translations don't even have it in there, so I want to be sure to highlight it. The term rust captures this idea perfectly. Now, sometimes I'll see corroded, which is a little less visual but similar, or the simple visual phrase stain. The Arabic literally says, what they earned covered their hearts with rust. It's then up to the interpreter to decide whether the important thing is the outer visual, a mark, or the inner process of rusting, also known as oxidation. Now, I prefer to use both, thus my preference for Pickthall's use of the word rust. Rust, it captures both the physical element and the visual element. A visual stain combined with internal rot. It's such a great metaphor for the human soul that is just slowly decayed by sin. And the signs of it are both on the outside and the inside. And if the rust gets too far, well, there's no coming back. If you rusted too much, you get a Sijjin. But if you don't rust too much, you will get its more pleasant counterpart, aliyin. Now, this is the second unexplained Arabic word that is just kind of put in there as it is. And the structure that's used is identical to that of Sijjin. Nay, but the record of the righteous is in aliyin. Ah, what will convey unto thee what aliyin is? A written record, attested by those who are brought near unto their Lord. So you see the same format. It's described as a written record for those who are brought near to God, for those who have believed and done good things. And like Sijjin, one meaning of this is the written record, and the other is the actual meaning of the word in Arabic. Again, same structure as Sijjin. Aliyin is a proper noun presented in adjective form. Again, sort of. You may have noticed, if you look closely, that this word is actually slightly different in each line, in the Arabic at least. In line 18, it says aliyin, but in line 19, it says aliyun. Now, this variation didn't happen with Sijjin. That was the same both times, but these are slightly different. Now, why are they different? I don't know. And either the commentators don't know or they don't really bring it up. It's possible I'm missing something large here. That's possible. But from what I'm seeing, this word is so mysterious to begin with. Just making slight changes to a word that barely exists in the first place could just be some kind of clever thing we're not really understanding. Or it could be a slip of the tongue. It could be a record-keeping error somewhere down the line. No one really knows. But the variation in words isn't seen as all that important. Unless you look at the Arabic very closely, you wouldn't even notice. In fact, just go look at any English translation of this. When they translate this part, they will use either aliyin or aliyun for both, reflecting what seems to be a universal opinion that these are exactly the same. Now, again, I'm allowing for the fact that I am not fully fluent in Arabic, and there might be some kind of very obvious grammatical thing I'm missing. And if that happens to be the case, just discard everything I'm saying about this being mysterious. It could just be a simple grammatical thing that I don't understand. So, what is this word? It's a variation of the sound ah, which is actually a consonant in Arabic, L, and O. That's Ain, Lam, Wa. And it means to exalt, to make high. And in the end, this is probably the plural form of a noun meaning exaltedness. So it can be translated as exaltedness upon exaltedness, or exaltednesses, even though that's technically not a word. Or the more physical, kind of visual sounding highness upon highness. So we have two words here, like with Sijjin, a written record and highness upon highness, kind of being crammed together. Now, what does that mean? Again, it's a double meaning. The highness, the exaltedness, that is the state of the record being given. And the other highness, the other exaltedness, means the heights to which God is going to raise this soul with this great record. Quite literally, actually, at least in this surah. All right, so that's enough on denieth. Now, this was not originally planned, but I'm going to have to kind of stop here because my commentary on this ended up running a bit long. I mean, way longer than I thought it would. So I'm going to split this one into two parts, and this just kind of seems like a good stopping point. So when we do part 2, I'll have 2 more important words to go over, starting with the wine that they drink in paradise. That was the third of the unknown words that we mentioned earlier. So we'll get to that in part 2. Thank you, and I'll talk to you next time. Inshallah.